This week on Arizona Illustrated, a special presentation of Arizona Illustrated's 2015 Emmy Winners. Welcome to Arizona Illustrated. I'm Tom McNamara. Each year, the regional chapters of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences recognizes and rewards excellence in their broadcasting communities with Emmy Awards. Late last year, Arizona Public Media broke records, winning 14 individual Emmy Awards in 10 categories, more than any broadcaster in Southern Arizona and more than any public broadcaster in the 5-state region. AZPM also received the top prize, the Overall Station Excellence Emmy. On this episode of Arizona Illustrated, we present a collection of these award-winning stories. First up, an excerpt from the Arizona Illustrated Veterans Day special. Military veterans and their families serve this country every day in countless ways around the globe. And when you combine that service with lifelong friendships, powerful bonds are formed, and in this instance, a field of dreams comes to life.
The Arizona wine industry has been around since the 16th century when the Spaniards planted grapes over in the Santa Cruz River Valley, and it really got going here in the early 80s. This is 100% Arizona Grenache, man. Grenache is the most widely planted grape on planet Earth. It's also the second most common wine in the state of Arizona. We've deliberately withheld water from them to desiccate them, to get the plants to struggle. So what you're looking at is fruit that's struggled. We do that to do two things: concentrate sugar and acid. And the result are grapes that have an unmatched, unparalleled flavor and a nice, tart, strong punch of acid to them. And that's just winemaking gold, man. Tastes good, it makes food taste good, makes your life taste good, man. And all of that wonder starts in the vineyard. First fruit will be shuttled to the winery here in about half hour. When our first trailer truck arrives, we'll get it out. This fruit will be fermenting within 4 hours. You're in Elgin, Arizona, south of Tucson, about 50 miles, up in the high country, about 5,000 feet.
Arizona's only American viticultural area.
That's right, you're along one of the most famous wine trails in the country.
Okay, no way I'm doing this alone.
We have 6.5 acres of planted vineyards out back here, and this is our chief winemaking facility, as well as our tasting room for our local customers and customers coming from literally all around the state and all around the country, actually. The 3 points of the logo represent myself and Mark and our other main business partner and lifelong friend, Tom Kitchens, who's actually outside right now heaving grapes into a crusher destemmer. So the three of us, we all met each other at the Air Force Academy. The logo also looks a little bit like a propeller, which is an homage to our flying career.
We were 17 years old and we were in parachuting school at the Air Force Academy, Colorado Springs, Colorado. And we were in the very first week of our summer there, where we were learning how to do parachute landings. Anyway, we hit it off. We were just babbling all day about things. And believe it or not, the first connection he and I had was music. We found that we both liked the same music. Green, blue, green, blue, green, blue, green, blue, green.
Yeah.
That's me tumbling as I go out of the
Yeah,
airplane.
you see sky,
Whoa,
earth,
whoa, whoa.
sky, earth,
You're,
right?
you're flopping around like a rag doll. You know, you're like, whoa, you're just trying to stabilize the air. And...
That was my first experience jumping out of a plane. I wasn't scared the first time. I was scared the second time.
We listened to a lot of punk rock. He loved the Dead Kennedys, you know, Black Flag. We liked all that stuff. And it was just an instant connection.
There are certain things that bring people together, and this was one of those things, this like common interest we had in the same types of music.
I initially started flying transport. That was my first assignment with C5s. Didn't do it for very long. He flew C5s too. But I went and I was an instructor for many years, and I went into special ops. Flew a very highly specialized helicopter at the time, low altitude penetration into denied airspace. Our primary mission was infill and exfil of special ops forces. And I was mostly down in the Balkan War, Africa, hotspots over in that part of the world. It's a miserable, rotten business, and you know, the more infrequently we can go to war, the better. But when we do, we need to do it right, professionally.
I fortunately had a much, much less, shall we say, dangerous and crazy flying
Prime
career.
rib, cappuccino.
No, not quite. But for the last 7 years of my Air Force career, I got to fly around some very interesting people. Everybody from the Vice President on down, Secretary of State, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, First Lady, and a host of congressmen and senators as well. Got to see many different parts of the world. It was just a fantastic opportunity. That was that's the Air Force 2 line right there.
Yeah.
You got
That's
it, Rolf?
the red phone.
Ew, slow your roll, Rolf.
Kitch, you're seeing it in action.
Yeah, Kitch, boy,
Yeah.
I tell you what,
He's our go-to guy.
Yeah,
He's
he kind of does everything.
he does it all.
Probably good, huh, Rolf? You want to do
You know, he's going to open up our Bisbee store tomorrow. You know, he helps with the customers. He does festivals for us. And he's just a really, really great friend.
He's just a big lovable guy. We're the best of friends, but we're radically different from each other.
But you can see this nice, rich, black, oily color here.
He's more of that meticulous scientist, that thoughtful artist that he is, and so winemaking was perfectly fit for Mark. And so he took on the role of our chief winemaker. On any given weekend, him and Rolf are here
yeah, I
with
can be
purple
here, yeah.
hands.
We knew what the sugar content was when we started, and when we now put our hydrometer in here.
And then I run the vineyard, and I make sure that our vines are nourished, planted on time, that they're pruned properly, that the vineyards are kept secure, that our equipment's maintained, that are on and on and on. I mean, that's a ripe grape. You see how rosy it is?
It's a really amazing, wonderful, and
Period
perfect
of
way
collaboration.
to have our own independent ways of doing things, but then coming together. 2013.
Cheers.
So it's actually a long time ago in ancient Greece, one of the uses for wines was like literally to loosen the tongue and join in a symposium, right? So a group of people, you know, intellectuals or philosophers,
By the old Air Force rules,
to basically get to the point where they were having open discussions with each other, but not getting too inebriated where the discussion would just completely fall apart. I want to try some of this wonderful 2009 Sangiovese that has that dried fruit and nut characteristic. And gosh, you guys are slow. I'm already on my next one here.
I love wine because, number one, I'm in the wine business with my best friends. You know, I get to work every day with people I've grown up with. We've been out snowshoeing in New Mexico with a bottle of our wine and just crack it open and drink it like the old days. It doesn't matter. It's all fun. It's all good. We're passionate about it. We love it. There's nothing better than wine.
Crazy AIDS. God, yeah. Good old punk rock.
A bad day here at the winery is actually a pretty good day because you're doing what you love. You get to be around people that you really that you really care about. And then when customers come through the door, hopefully you're making their lives a little bit brighter as well. Literally building something from the ground up, and maybe being able to pass that on down. I want to be around people that add something to your life, and Mark definitely adds a lot to my life.
I got 27 friends killed in the war. I've come close to losing my own life several times, and I don't take any day for granted, period, dot. I knew this guy when he had hair and he was 17, and one of us will see each other on our deathbed, It's just, if I can just go through my life and have those rich, extraordinary experiences surrounded by the people I care about, doing what I love to do, I will consider that a successful, rich life.
It brings out something that's like just that was there, but like was not expressed, like being like a parent, a father, a mother. It's and it's very exciting. It's very, very exciting.
Richard very early on told me, as we were driving away from a bottle collection site, he kind of looked at me and laughed in the way he does and says, David, you are interested in recycling broken glass. I'm interested in recycling broken dreams. That's what I'm doing here.
Anyone growing up in Arizona from the 1950s through the 70s knew about the state's 5 C's. The 5 C's are copper, cattle, climate, cotton, and citrus. At its peak around 1970, Arizona citrus growers had 80,000 acres in production. And as you'll see in our next story, the marketing of that fruit is a unique lens through which to view over a century of Arizona's history.
My mom worked as a shipping clerk for a grapefruit packing house in Yuma, Arizona. My father worked for the state of Arizona as a farm labor specialist. My own background was in fresh produce. I often saw lots of different labels on wooden boxes that really intrigued me. I decided I need to take those home to my wife because she's studying to be an art teacher. I'm John Medley. I live in Oracle, Arizona, and I collect Arizona citrus crate labels. At one point I got to thinking, why have I started collecting these old crate labels? And a little bit of introspection led me to realize that, I get it, I've been around produce almost all my life. Why shouldn't I have a collection of such things? For me, the most surprising aspect of the illustrations in the label collection are actually the history of Arizona that can be told when viewing or studying these illustrations. Primarily, there was 3 different styles of artwork. There was the naturalistic period, advertising period, and then there was the commercial art period. The naturalistic period focused primarily on actual items of nature. This would be an illustration designed to appeal to a housewife who would be thinking that she would be able to set a very Victorian-style table. Another crate label used is this desert brand. In its appearance, we have Camelback Mountain without any residence on it. The advertising era basically consisted of a prominent brand name and an image that purchasers would remember. In the marketing of Arizona, they attempted to show that there was plenty of water. Designers of Arizona crate labels featuring Native American subjects were often influenced by photographs from several decades earlier. As part of my research material, I just can't help but make the assumption that the crate label designer had access to the Vroman photographs. It was more of a surprise than anything, and it was quite satisfying. I felt like I had discovered something that nobody else knew. In the collection, I have what I believe to be rather stereotypical illustrations of gender themes, racial themes. I think they were trying to appeal to all the different potential customers for their oranges and grapefruit, but they're just emblematic of things that were present in the society during the time that these crate labels were illustrated. Illustrations of Arizona oranges and grapefruit crate labels were designed by primarily anonymous artists working for the various lithograph companies in California. There are only one or two labels that I'm aware of where the illustrator was known, designed by Bert Anthony, who was an artist employed by the Walt Disney Studios. When I first saw this illustration, I thought, Sun Devil. Consolidated citrus growers must have decided to make Sparky the Sun Devil their mascot. And then I got out my magnifying glass and I saw the date. It led me to realize that this label was designed at least 3 years prior to the design of the current Sparky the Sun Devil designed by Disney Studios. In the commercial era of crate labels, brand name became primary and illustration became secondary. The end of the era of the paper crate label came about in 1955 with the widespread adoption by the produce industry of the labor-saving, more economical pre-printed cardboard carton. When I stop and take a look at the collection, I begin to wonder, okay, I'm a mature senior citizen now. What do I think I should do with this? At this specific moment, I have no idea, but I know that it shouldn't just languish in my house without a plan. Ultimately, I'm really surprised that I was successful in what I set out to do, which was establish the largest privately held archive of Arizona citrus material.
How you work here is truly how you're going to work out there when you get a job. So really, we want to give you really good work habits, really good work ethic, and develop that sense of passion for what you're doing. It's not just a job. See how easy you go through that?
Sometimes it gets so close that you just, the pucker factor gets real high. You just find somewhere to sit and say, okay, this shall pass.
Our next award-winning story follows a University of Arizona research scientist. The challenges presented by his work were daunting, but it would be a far more personal experience that would shape his research into a source of hope for others.
Tachitni, ready to go to school? Tachitni, how are you, Sunny? This is Tachitni, and this is our son, our first son. He's 3 years old.
Like a lot of little boys, Tachitni loves to play. He loves his little brother and the color red. But there are some little boy things that Tachitni doesn't do. He can't yet speak or walk properly, and he doesn't eat. Tachitni gets all his nourishment through a feeding tube.
At 4 months old was when we had a real clue that something was wrong. And when I was breastfeeding him, he suddenly turned opposite of me in a real quick way, and he was gasping and he had short breaths.
Tachitni was having epileptic seizures, as many as 20 a day, and despite rounds of tests, his doctors didn't know why.
Whenever we see a child with seizures, we want to try and establish more than a diagnosis of seizures. We want to know what's causing the seizures, and sometimes it's easy, but there is a large group of children in whom we cannot establish a cause.
That's really hard because you have a lot of questions like why, and why does it have to be us?
The chief walkers didn't find an answer until they found Michael Hammer.
Did you write the code to do all this? Okay. No, that's good. I mean, that's a really good experience.
Hammer isn't a medical doctor. He's a geneticist who has spent decades piecing together the history of human evolution by looking for changes or mutations in our DNA.
I think I was just motivated by a genuine curiosity of how did this all come to be in terms of being human beings. What are human beings? How are we different from other species and our closest living relatives, the great apes?
He was really looking at broad-scale issues of human history, right? That is, when is the mitochondrial eve, or what are the great migrations of humans across the face of the earth?
Hammer's worldwide hunt for human origins made him well respected and well known, but his research took a different focus, one much closer to home, when his daughter was born.
Shay was apparently a normal, happy baby girl, very cute, but also not quite making her developmental milestones that parents typically follow. Then we noticed at about 6 months or 5 months that she was having little blinking episodes. Her eyes were blinking several times in a row, multiple times a day. And so we took her to a neurologist, and he confirmed that she was having seizures.
As Shay grew older, the seizures took a devastating toll.
They would wipe her out for days, and then just back to normal, and then another one, and then she'd be gone again for days. Those were the bad times, the hard times. And we had really exhausted all the possible avenues of diet and behavioral plans. We tried so many different medications. Anything that came up that was new, we would try, but there just didn't seem to be anything on the horizon. So I just thought, well, I'm a geneticist. I work with DNA sequences all the time. That's what I do. Why couldn't I just look for the mutation that caused my daughter's problem?
It took months of discussion with collaborators and the Ethics Review Board for Hammer to get permission to test his own family's DNA. Then his team started sifting through the data for clues.
In the process of working through the data analysis, Shay passed away suddenly. I woke up one morning and she was gone in her bed. She passed away in the night. Children with seizures are higher risk for sudden death, like SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome. This is called SUDEP, sudden unexplained death in epilepsy. And we didn't realize the time that she was at this much higher risk for SUDEP because she had bad seizures for so many years. And now I think people are made aware of these things, but at the time it was just a total shock to us. A few days later, when I could even have a thought that was, sensible, I asked myself, should we continue this analysis? And I waited to get the answer just from the universe, and it came back yes. It was, I think this is what Shay would want.
Just weeks later, Hammer's team found what they were looking for. A single change in one gene had caused all of Shay's difficulties. It was a de novo mutation, a random genetic error that wasn't inherited from her parents, but just happened by chance.
I went to Dr. Talwar and said, look, if we could do it for Shay, perhaps we could do this for other children. Do you have 10 other children like Shay in your practice that are stumping you? You can't figure out what's causing their epilepsy. And he said, certainly. So he asked families if they would like to participate in our research study. Out of the 10, 7 of the patients, 7 of the families, we found mutations that were either known to be causative or shed some light on new ways that epilepsy could be caused genetically.
One of those 7 families is Tachitnis, the chief walkers. They learned that a random mutation similar to Shay's caused their son's epilepsy.
It gave us comfort knowing that it wasn't something that we did or we didn't do, because the genetic mutation is something that we can't control.
Now the Chief Walkers focus on what they can control, nurturing Tachitni's gifts and sharing them with the world.
Tachitni is special, and we always knew he was special, but special because he's allowing us to get answers, and maybe through him that we can help other children or other people.
Up and down, up and down.
If he can go through so much at such a young age and still at the end of the day smile and laugh, it just makes us appreciate life.
What you can do is you can give those parents an insight into the life of their child and how much it changes their ability to be with their child is an amazing thing to think about. And I didn't appreciate the ability that we had to make that kind of gift until I saw it happen several times. So I guess that's Michael's great gift right now, his understanding of what it means and these little things that to us seem little things that mean so much to them.
The next case is choroid plexus, the brain cancer patient.
These days, Hammer is using the techniques he honed in studying the past to help children like Tachitni here and now, and in the future.
Shay offered her gift when she was here, and she keeps giving her gift now that she's not here in physical form. She revealed the cause of her epilepsy, which is benefiting other children. There are now at least 40 other children who have learned that they have also a mutation in the same gene, SCN8A, that they would not have known about if it weren't for Shay. We're now working on children with cancer and trying to find the genetic causes that make their tumors grow. And we're working on other children who have diseases where we think there's a genetic cause. I'm a lot more introspective about not what makes us human, but what our purpose here is as human beings. What does life mean to us? What's important about being alive? Because it's so tenuous, it can just disappear at any moment. And I want to know the meaning of this life and Shay's life.
The prestigious Emmy Award for Overall Excellence is given to one broadcaster in the 5-state Rocky Mountain region. It demonstrates excellence in locally produced programming, promotional spots, and exceptional community outreach and involvement. In 2015, that honor was bestowed upon Arizona Public Media. You can watch all of AZPM's Emmy Award-winning stories on our website at azpm.org. Thank you for joining us to celebrate Arizona Illustrated's 2015 Emmy winners. We'll be taking a bit of a break over the next few weeks, then back on Sunday, March 27th for a special edition of Arizona Illustrated, Behind the Scenes with Antiques Roadshow. That's Sunday, March 27th at 6:30 p.m. I'm Tom McNamara. See you soon.